Hello and welcome to the 10 o'clock news with me, Peter Lister. On tonight's special bulletin, we have a very important question. Where does cannabis come from? I mean, where does it come from? Nobody knows, but we're going to find out in this show. The first person we have on the line to help us answer this question is our Jamaican Rasta, Rastif. Rastif, can you hear me?
Yo, Peter, man. Thanks for having me on, man. I just want to say how nice it is to be on your show, man. Yeah, man. It was King Rastafari who brought it from the Promised Land. He was a reincarnation of the true God himself. It even says it in the Bible. Genesis 1:29. And earth brought forth grass and herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after his kind, and God saw that it was good. Yeah, man.
Thank you, Rastif, for that excellent explanation. We will now be going over to a Chinaman who claims that cannabis comes from China. His name is Mr. Hoi Chi Ling. Mr. Hoi Chi Ling.
Hello, Mr. Peter. Welcome to People's Republic of China. Oh, yeah. Cannabis comes from China, only China. Oh, yeah.
Well, Mr. Hoi Chi Ling, we have Rasta Rastif on the line who claims it comes from Jamaica in the Caribbean.
Rastafari? Sounds like something off of my menu. No, it didn't come from there. It came from Wuhan. That's where it came from.
You don't know what you're talking about, man.
No, not Caribbean. No, little island like South China Sea. We come and take over.
It was in Africa that the sacred herb was found.
You don't tell me where it come from. I tell you where it come from. It come from China, not from Jamaica. Where the hell's Jamaica? We give you everything. We give you rice. We give you gunpowder. We give you cannabis. We even give you COVID-19. I mean, what more you want?
Now, we will go over to our scientific expert, Professor Hinklebuckle, where he can explain exactly where cannabis comes from.
Well, in actual fact, Mr. Ling was quite correct. China was the place where hemp was first grown. Back in approximately 12,000 BC, the Neolithic people in China started growing hemp for both clothing and rope. By 2000 BC, this had been exported further east to Japan and west as far as Eastern Europe. By 700 AD, it had reached the Middle East, where they discovered its medicinal properties. From there it travelled across northern Africa, and by 800 AD, it crossed the Straits of Gibraltar and was in southern Europe. 200 years later, it expanded from China to Indonesia, and by 1100 AD, it had travelled down the east coast of Africa to Madagascar. It was not until 1200 AD that it reached the shores of England. It would take another 500 years before it would travel to southwestern Africa and across the Atlantic to South America. It was another 200 years before it crossed from West Africa to the Caribbean and west coast of South America. And it was not until the 20th century before it arrived in North America, travelling to Canada by 1920.
Thank you, Professor Hinklebuckle, for that extremely scientific investigation report. We now know that cannabis does originate in China, and in fact over 14,000 years ago. So, what do you have to say about that then, Rastif?
It's all good, man. No worries. And respect to all my brothers and sisters out there. Peace be the journey.
Respect and peace to you too, Mr. Rastiff, and of course to you, Mr. Hoi Chi Ling, and our very own Professor Hinklebuckle. That's been the Evening News with me, your host, Peter Litster, at 10 o'clock. Good night.
Audio